right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the CO Show. We have another guest with us this week, another special guest with us, and I'm excited about this one this week. But guys, stay tuned for more episodes like this. We'll keep coming at you guys with new awesome guests every week. But guys, don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. But let's dive into things here. This week we have UAlbany Safety and special teams Demon. Semaj Brown. What's going on, Semaj?
How you doing, Odie? I'm good.
I'm awesome. So Semaj, let's dive into things real quick here. Is kind of just talk about a little bit about kind of your path to UAlbany, kind of what was it like, and what kind of factored in your kind of decision to want to end up at University at Albany.
Okay, so I'll say about my junior year of high school is really when I started, getting recruited by schools and things like that. And I went to a lot of camps, a lot of things like that. And I started getting recruited. I started getting recruited for defense. I actually played receiver and offense my whole life. So as I started getting recruited for defense, I had to start playing defense. So at first I started off at corner, and then it was just like, I wouldn't say like it was just easy. It was like, it just came to me for real, playing it. And that's when I say, my junior year, I got my first offer during my junior season. My first one was, I think, Toledo. I got that offer. And then after that, it just started rolling for real. I started going on visits and things like that. And something happened with my test scores. I didn't do so good on the first SAT, so I had to retake it. And I was about to commit to University of Iowa, and my test scores were too low. I couldn't get in, so I had to retake them. And by the time I retook my tests, it's like 6 DBs committed. Jeez. And it was like, it was kind of like my spot was gone for real. So Albany hit me up senior year. I didn't really have nowhere to go. It was kind of too late. Like, it was like I didn't sign till later in like February, that later signing day for athletes. So I didn't get to sign till then. And then it was kind of too late. So Albany called me. At first, I didn't even know Albany was in New York. I never heard of the school. I was like, man. So it was, I came on a visit, and after I say first time me in New York, it was kind of crazy because I never expected me to be in New York. And it was like, I just felt great vibes coming up here. It was all, good. I had Larry as my host. So Larry was a great host. Like, he really is one of the reasons why I came up here. So it was just all great vibes. And I was like, I was either going to go here or go to prep school. So I was like, man, you know what? I like Albany. I like the team is cool. Coaches, great vibes. So I was like, I'll come here.
Awesome. What was kind of like the recruiting process for you? Like, it seemed like, at the start you were very highly kind of recruited, but then it kind of seemed to fall off. What was kind of, just talk a little bit about your kind of experience, like in the recruiting process.
Man, it was very tough. I ain't gonna lie, that was a point in my time in my life for real when I was lost. I didn't know what I was gonna do because for a minute I didn't know what school I was going to. So going from getting recruited, going on visits almost every weekend, and just from barely having nothing, it was just a hard process for real. And it was just, I just kept my faith, praying every day, talking to my family, my coaches from high school, keeping in touch. So it was just, I had a good support to get me through it. So it was like, it got kind of easier. And then Albany just came. So it was something like that for real.
Yeah. At one point, what were kind of like the top offers or the top places that you were considering before you're like committed to Iowa? If you can think off the top of your head of at least some places that, you thought that you were considering or had offers to.
I know the first was, Iowa, Toledo. It was a lot of MAC schools like Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
What was another school? It's losing my mind right now.
Just a lot of just MAC schools, and then you
Yeah,
had
it
a
was really
couple
a
Big
lot of
Ten
Mac,
schools.
a lot of Mac schools for
And
sure.
so what was it like kind of being, it's a little bit different because you're in, Chicago growing up there, kind of, still a bigger city, but you're kind of in the Midwest still where things are starting to spread out a little bit more. You kind of notice how there's like a bunch of colleges on the East Coast, like all over the place. What was it like kind of, especially going on those visits and having to travel a lot and those things? What was it kind of getting recruited, especially like in the Midwest?
The Midwest, I ain't gonna lie, we don't get for football. It's kind of like not a big thing. So like getting recruited and football in the Midwest it's not, it's not as big. So it was kind of like we had a lot of players, we have a lot of players all around for real, like in a lot of Power Five schools, FCS, a lot. So it was like I'll say like it was hard with it. Like, if you was good, they was gonna find you. So, but like we don't get a lot of recognition as we should. So
Yeah.
it's like it was like, yeah, like I feel like we have a lot of players that could really play at Division I schools, and it's just like I feel like a lot of people love the Southern and the schools like PA, stuff like that, and I just feel like the Midwest really is like not really a big thing for football, and they don't like to recruit there. So I just feel like it was just like it was tough, but if you're good, they're gonna find you.
If you were to go back, what would some advice like you would tell yourself like during the recruiting process now that you've been in college football for over 2 years now, like you kind of seen the process and done that, for future, future you or somebody who might be coming up, what would be some pointers or some tips that you might give to like somebody who's kind of who's getting recruited and it might be lost? Because I feel like especially if you don't have like guidance or older brothers, sisters, or whatever who really don't know the process, it can be a kind of, or even coaches who don't know that process, it can be very kind of, you can feel like you're overwhelmed or you don't know what to do.
Yeah, for sure. I would say when you're going through the process, you wanna fall in love with the process, but you don't want to get yourself into the process, like deep into it. That's the problem I had. I was, getting scholarships, and I'm not really choosing a school for me, trying to find a school for me, and me just, I'm just getting this offer. I'm just getting this offer. So I would say just finding a school that you really would like to go to, do your research, find, and just getting it done, not rushing the process, but putting time into the process,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
saying picking a school for you, and yeah, and just not falling in love with the process like that for real.
Yeah, I think like once you look back, and especially if you're not mature, I mean, we're all not mature when you're in high school and all these things. Like you're kind of looking, oh man, like going D1 or even just like FBS or whatever, of like, that might not be necessarily the right fit for you, but finding like the right place that wants you, that you can play at, but also doing your research, like you said. I think that's the biggest part, is that a lot of kids are kind of like, oh, that sounds cool, sounds great, but you know nothing about them. And then
Yeah.
before, and I think it happens even when we see it with the transfer portals, kids, stay for a semester or 2 semesters, and then they say they want to leave, without any major changes, which is kind of crazy. I think that's a very good point to anybody out there to kind of research, to be able to look at those different schools and ask questions. I feel like, and especially in my recruiting process, I didn't ask like enough questions.
Yeah.
Now going into the transfer portal and talking to different coaches, now I know the right questions to ask,
Mhm.
the hard questions that are very important. I think that's the most thing, is because at the end of the day, coaches are going to try to get you to come there, but if you ask them the right questions, sometimes there's no way to beat around the bush or try to sell you on something,
Mhm.
which I think is really cool. But Smaj, we'll talk a little bit more about you. You kind of talked about how Larry, who we've had on the podcast here, kind of being, one of the main reasons why you wanted to commit. But what were some factors that, and you talked about, hey, it was either prep school or here, but that made you want to come to UAlbany?
I'll say the first day when I came, and me just interacting with the coaches and like just showing this when Holly and Coach Cox was still here. So them coming and just talking, like we were talking about life, football, things like that, just really interacting with me and really want to get to know who I am as a person. And like actually want to know my goals in life, things like that. So I'll say like communicating with the coaches was a big thing for me, for real. And also seeing my dad came on a visit with me, and seeing my dad, liking it, enjoying everything that's going on. And I'm like, okay, this could be like a place, it could be my second home. So, just a lot of, coach, like I'll say a big thing was the coaches interacting with me, for real.
Yeah, I had agree. I think those two coaches, and I've had a full season experience him. I've had 2 seasons with Coach Ali and 1 season with Coach Cox, but those are some of the best guys, some of the best coaches I've ever been around. Guys who genuinely care about you. I think it's really cool to find, because it's hard to find the right fit or the right coaches and stuff like that, that kind of gel well with you, but also find coaches that truly care about you, and that ones that you're able to make connections with. I think that's really important, and those are bonds that you know you'll have forever, whether you see them or talk to them ever again. It's really cool to kind of see, there's a reason why that those guys are both at the FBS level, coaching at such a high level, because
Yeah.
when they're here, those are high quality guys. But what was it like to kind of having all those? We've had a boatload you guys had a boatload of DB coaches kind of shuffle over. What has that been like for you, even just in your short years at UAlbany?
It's been very different. Like, have to, having coaches teaching you different things, that's kind of, like learning their techniques. You have to restart for real. Like I say like, it's not hard for me. It wasn't kind of hard for me because in high school, I went to 4 different high schools. So I transferred every year. So me adapting to things, I picked up on that kind of fast. So me just like, I say just, having to get a bond with another coach, just things like
Mhm.
that, yeah, just learn new techniques and things like that. That would be the hardest, I say.
Yeah, I think that's a good point when you talk about, but I think it's also a kudos to you because you're able to be kind of coachable and work with those coaches to be able to be like to adapt and take the techniques that you've learned, but also adapt to some of the new techniques or some new fundamentals that
Mm.
other coaches. I think that's props to you, Samaj. But you kind of talked about how you've been transferring and you've been able to pick up things quick. We've seen that coming in as your freshman year, being able to kind of contribute on special teams, and then you started contribute into the COVID season, and parts of last year. What has been kind of for you the biggest piece when it comes to coming in, and we talked a little bit about this with Scott, but coming in, not necessarily being a leader, but being able to make an impact right away? What are some kind of thoughts or mentalities? Because you have a lot of the kids have a physical gifts, but maybe from the mental side, that don't have, maybe whether it is the work ethic or other things like that.
Yeah, I say mental wise, you have to know, like with me, it was like I knew the work I put in. I knew like I just like I worked for this, and like I knew like it's either like when I got my chance, I know like when I got my chance, I had to take advantage of it. So it was
Mhm.
kind of like you got to do this, like just talking to myself, just knowing like I'm prepared for this, like I'm ready for this mentally, like I can do this, like this is what I can do. Like I've been doing
Mhm.
this my whole life, so it's like I could do this. So it was just like me just having to just stay calm and just stay ready for real. And also you get that um help from like your teammates, like it's Larry helping me out mentally, T Cars,
Mhm.
them the older guys, they, I'm coming under them and they telling me like, yeah, you good, just calm down, stuff like that. So actually getting help from them was a big help, like for real, because they've been through it all. They didn't play a lot of games and things like that. So just learning stuff from them really gave me that step too to, ready to play and bring it in my offer.
What was probably like the biggest different, or maybe the biggest challenge for you personally, like coming in as a freshman and then, kind of coming in and, you know, of course you come in wanting to play right away, but you've had kind of success relatively early in your career. What was like the biggest challenge you think that you've had to this point?
The biggest challenge I would say I had was really being a leader of the defense and like having to use my voice and know what everybody was doing. Like really with the playbook and things like that. Like that was like my biggest where like I still like it's still some things like now that I'm sharpening on, getting better on and stuff like that. It was just like knowing what I have to do for real. Like, because in high school, we really don't have playbooks like that and things like that. And like you just really doing you for real. Like you playing, you just playing. So coming to college, you have to take the right step, have the right alignment, things like that. And that was like, that was like a struggle for me trying to make sure I do the right things, the little things right, because that what really matters for real. Also, like with special teams, even me being on special teams, you have to have the right technique to actually block somebody on punt, the right technique to block somebody on kickoff return, stay in your lane on kickoff. So it was like just the little things for real, just, having to get comfortable with and things like that.
Yeah, that I think that's a very big piece. I think like a lot of high school is just like pure talent. Like you're
Yeah.
better than that other person. Like, or even like, all right, like we're just a better team, mentally and physically than you guys are, and we'll just beat up on you guys. I just saw how different college is, where like you have everything, the playing field's so even, just because everyone's, it's Division I football, everyone's good. And
Yeah.
so those little things can add up, the difference between, whether it's making that tackle or even being able to get a PBU or an interception, or being in the right space, or even, getting a touchdown scored on you in those positions, or not even, you're not running, fitting your gap right, or like you said, talked about special teams, not staying in your lanes. How it's crazy how those little things can add up and make a big difference, especially at the college level. That's really crazy. But Semaj, you talked a lot about, kind of being a leadership. You've kind of, you started dabbling last year, a little bit being a leader, especially at that safety position. What's the big difference between Semaj and 2021 to Semaj in 2022 here, as we're looking forward to the fall here?
Biggest difference is me being comfortable. Kind of like when I was out there last year, I was comfortable with some things, but some things it just, it was just new to me. So I just me now coming from the spring, we had a great spring. Just me being more comfortable, knowing what a lot, like really knowing what the defense has to do. Like what we're doing is for a reason. So having just being out there, and I got a little more, swagger to my plan. So it's like I'm just feeling way comfortable, way better. And yeah, it's just gonna be a great season this year.
Awesome. Yeah, you talked about having that great season. What have you noticed different in the team from last year to this year to help you guys kind of make that difference and make that big step in the right direction?
The bonding, like it's been a crazy bonding. Like, people last year, like, we all talked and things like that, but like now we like really interact with each other. Like
Mhm.
we all, it's like you should see it now. Like everybody's putting in extra work. Like you could just tell in people's eyes, like we want to win. Like everybody hungry right now. Like nobody want to have that feeling from last year, because it was just not a good feeling at all. So everybody got a chip on their shoulder right now, and they just want to win. So I feel like it's gonna be a great season.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. So much. Let's dive into a little bit something outside of football of things. You know, you're a pretty smart, intelligent guy. Have you kind of thought, and I understand you're still relatively young, but thought about kind of, life after football, or, kind of what you want to do? Understand you're from Chicago, being, kind of away from home a little bit, but have you kind of thought about, life after football? Is that still a little ways away?
I've been thinking about it a little bit. Like I try to like sometimes I try to get my mind, free mind, try to get away from
Yeah.
football sometimes. Little things I like to do, like a little, like I was thinking about sometimes, like, sports commentating or something like that, staying in the sports, but, things like that. Or I picked up on something with my uncle at the crib. He do entrepreneur, and he with business and things like
That's
that.
really
He
cool.
flip houses and stuff like that. So, things like that I could really see myself doing. So like I haven't really, got like really looked into it for real,
Yeah.
but just, just the thoughts, just in case, football don't last forever. So, just having those thoughts sometimes on my brain.
Yeah. What are kind of some of the hobbies that you have kind of outside of football that you kind of like to enjoy? You talked a little bit about, we talked a little bit off camera that, summers can kind of get slow. But what are some kind of outside hobbies that you kind of like to enjoy?
I'm a real chill, mellow guy. So like anything, I'll take a walk. Sometimes like people don't even notice. Like sometimes I like to fish, just be out there, clear mind. I like to bowl with the guys sometimes. That's something we do out here. We like to bowl, go things like that. Um, yeah, I'm really just a chill guy though. I'll sit and take a walk outside, sit outside, anything like that. Anything
That's
that
really
just comes.
cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like sometimes, I think we all need that sometimes, of where we talk a little bit about like whether it's not necessarily meditation, but kind of being on our own or having a free mind of being able to think. Because I think sometimes, especially as student athletes, we kind of get caught into like there's so much going on like so quickly, especially when we're in season. Sometimes it's just nice to just kind of be with your own thoughts and just being by yourself. I think like whether it's walking or fishing or whatever it is, can be a really good tactic that you can do, especially, I think sometimes we just need a break. I feel like sometimes we're just so all the time we're push, push, go, 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 go all the time. It's kind of nice to have, at least in the summer, a little bit of a
Yeah.
little bit more free time before we start ramping things up here in a couple weeks. Before you know it, football season's right around the corner and we're in camp,
For real.
and we don't have a life outside of football, and for 4 or 5 months, which
Mhm.
is a blessing and a curse at the same time. Being able to play this sport we love at such a high level, but not to be able to do maybe some things that maybe our peers or other people around the world might be able to do. Awesome stuff. But Semaj, before we wrap things up here, do you have any last words, comments, or shout outs that you want to give to the viewers or anybody back home?
Um, you know, Shout out to the mom, the dad, the whole gang, I gotta shout out them. But I just want everybody to know that it's gonna be a great season this year. I want everybody to come out, come support us, things like that, and look out for 2-1.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Guys, be on the lookout. These UAlbany football team looks like to be bonding well, and we'll hopefully the William and Mary Tribe and UAlbany Great Dames will play in the playoffs of some sort
Oh
this
yeah.
year, so we can get a game in,
Oh, yeah, we
which will
gotta get
be
that one.
really fun to be able to play each other. But be on a lookout for Semaj and the Albany football team this year. They're looking for poised of a big season. Thanks again, Semaj, for coming on, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check these guys out. Until then, peace.